Hey, I'm Casey.
And I'm Josh.
Welcome to our Advanced Listening and Conversation course.
If you like our videos, please remember to like and subscribe and share them with any other friends who like learning English.
Please do. What are we talking about today, Josh?
Today we're going to talk about something very normal. We're going to be talking about how we get around.
Get around?
Get around. Get around. I get around.
Get around, get around, I get around.
And so, what does that mean? I mean, it means how we travel.
In the city.
Normally, yeah. Like, when we say get around, it doesn't normally mean, like, how do you get around to France? No. It's normally where you live, in the place where you live or whatever.
So, for example, I think our first good question would be, so how do you get around? I travel by electric bike, I walk a lot, sometimes take the bus, and I use the metro here in Madrid a lot.
So I wish I had something different to say, but what he said is basically exactly the same as me. I think I use the electric bike system a lot more than he does. But I also walk and, buses sometimes, metro a little bit too.
Do you have a driving license, Josh?
I don't have a driving license. Do you have a driving license, Casey? No, he doesn't have a driving license either.
Neither of us can drive.
Okay. So that's probably a big reason why we actually do those things to get around. But you know what? If you could drive, would you change it?
I think driving is socially irresponsible, Josh.
Socially irresponsible. It's up on his high horse.
Mm-hmm. Because, think about it. You're one person in one car taking yourself to a certain part of the city. It's just a waste of energy and space. It causes congestion when there's lots of cars that can't really move around. Causes traffic jams, and it just releases loads of poison into the atmosphere.
No, totally. You've probably seen that picture on the internet where it's like 50 cars and it's 50 people, and then you see like an image representation of those 50 people in just two buses, and the amount of time and space that they take up to do that.
We will try our best to share this image somehow, avoiding copyright issues. We will share this image.
And I think it's mainly to do with the commute.
The commute. How
people commute, Commute is how we travel to work,
You're a dictionary today.
I'm trying. And so, I commute to work by bike normally, or walking.
My commute is bicycle, metro, walking. Yeah, the commute is just how you get to work, basically. And so, for example, in London, people can commute for... Sorry, not in London. In Plymouth, in the other side of the city in England, people can commute for, hours just to go to work. And some people commute to different countries. It's madness.
Complete madness. So I've seen, you probably have too, lots of those little scooters going around and parked on the street, and they're kind of everywhere.
Lots of scooters. What else?
What do you think about that?
Well, first, let's talk about all of those kinds of transport. We've seen lots of, here in Madrid, we've seen lots of electric scooters.
Yeah.
Lots of different brands of them. They're rentable, by the way. We're not talking about buying a scooter. We're talking about a company leaving a scooter on the street that you rent.
Yeah.
You've also got rentable bicycles, like electric and non-electric. The city of Madrid provides bicycles as well. So we've got lots of new forms of transport, rentable transport.
I know they have the Boris bikes, they call them in the UK, from when Boris Johnson, our current Prime Minister at the time of this recording, was the Mayor of London, and he set up this bicycle system, and so they called them Boris bikes.
He did something really good. Wow. Okay.
Surprising,
okay.
Right? Yeah.
Or
he just put his name on it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
What do I think of these new forms of transport? I think there are positives and negatives to talk about. I think the obvious positive is that it's amazing that I can choose to get to work in a variety of different ways. I think that's the first thing. It also means that there's accessible transport to everyone. It's much more environmentally friendly. Like, using these forms of transport is far more friendly than, for example, getting in your car.
And often they actually require a little tiny bit more exercise too. Like the electric bikes we use. Yes, they're electric, but you still have to move. You're not sat in a car. You are still pedaling. With the scooters, maybe I've seen some people kind of pushing them around a bit. Maybe
the
not too much
exercise thing
there.
Doesn't really... I'm not sure if the exercise one is a part of it. I feel like...
Maybe not for you, but my daily cycle is about all the exercise I get. So.
He doesn't cycle.
I pedal on an electric bike. I'd definitely call that cycling.
I think there are big negatives though. So one big problem that I've always thought about, because I'm a cyclist, is that you don't need a license, yet you are forced to drive in the road. So I think this is a really interesting issue that here in Madrid and many other parts of at least England and Spain, I'm not going to speak about any other place, you have to ride in the road even though you may not have the training to do so.
Which seems a little bit messed up to me.
Bit dangerous.
You know, because there are so many people on these roads, and yes, okay, they're not in big vehicles that could kill someone, but they're still very dangerous and could really influence one of these big vehicles to swerve out of the way to try and not hit you and then cause a lot more damage to someone else. You know, and I think it should be mandatory to do some sort of road safety course if you want to be a cyclist. But then at the same time, do we want to discourage people from cycling?
Exactly. It's a big question. I think another disadvantage, or at least a controversy that is out here at the moment is that these scooter businesses don't pay for the space they use. So this is really, really interesting. Normally a company pays for the advertising that it puts up. And it's illegal, for example, here in Madrid to just advertise wherever. You have to pay for a space. But these bicycles and these scooters don't pay anything. So they kind of get free advertising, and this has prickled a few pickles.
It certainly has. They're also shockingly expensive. Not the bikes, but the scooters.
How much?
Okay, I mean, because you can now go on the Uber app, for example, and look for an Uber, the taxi, or a scooter. And I think for me to get from my house to yours was something like €6. When an Uber taxi is about 7. So I didn't really understand what the benefits of them are, because they seem to be just as expensive as actual taxis.
And really slow compared to
a taxi. Yeah.
It's really weird. I think this brings us to our next point, which is the question, should transport be a right? What that would mean is, should people, everyone, have access to it despite perhaps not having the funds or money necessary to pay for such transport?
Well, I'd say yes. But I also think that there are some issues with that, you know? Like, should someone, if they choose to work 3 hours away from their house, be given the right of a way of getting there? Well, if they've made a bad decision that causes a 3-hour commute, then should the government have to fund their travel because they've chosen a job which is so far away, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I think maybe a better law would be to regulate prices so that transport companies, like imagine if there's just one bus company, that it can't put its rate up too high, at least so high that people can't get to where they're going. So obviously, getting around your city is really connected to the environment and pollution. Do you think about this when you're traveling, Josh?
Ashamedly, no, I don't. But I also don't drive. You know, I do cycle.
So you offset your emissions by not caring.
Precisely. I do cycle, I do walk a lot, and then I use public transport, and I don't drive. So, no, I don't think about it, because I'm already contributing very little to pollution.
I don't think many people think about the environment when they choose their way to transport. This is an interesting comment you could make. You're like, no, Casey. Tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
No, Casey, I think about the environment. I take a bicycle to work because it's better. Maybe you do.
I reckon people more think about it maybe when they're buying their car.
Perhaps.
You know, so they'll choose what car they have, what car they buy, and they'll think consciously about the environment when doing that. I reckon that might be the little way that the environmental consciousness affects people.
We had lots of problems here in Madrid because they changed the law and said that on specific, I think, weeks, the odd number license plates couldn't enter the city. And people felt completely scandalized and attacked. Like, what do you mean I can't take my car into the city? So I think people don't care that much.
We generally just think about ourselves.
Maybe we have a bleak outlook on life.
But that's a topic for another video. So just to finish this off, what do you think? If you could drive any car...
No, any vehicle.
Any vehicle.
Open it up.
Much more important. What vehicle would you drive?
I would drive a hoverboard because no one yet has one, and I would be the coolest kid in town.
I like that. I mean, I'd love to also say I would take a jetpack, but let's be honest. Well, first I'd probably learn to drive, and then I'd have a very environmentally friendly sports car. A Tesla, there we go.
An oxymoron, no?
A Tesla, a beautiful, not the new one, but a beautiful Tesla, which is environmentally friendly and nice.
Well, maybe you'll see us in a few videos riding our hoverboards and sports cars. Please tell us in the comments what you would love to drive if you could drive absolutely anything in the world.
And if you are environmentally conscious about your transport decisions.
Which Josh isn't. And please like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time.